I talk into this end, right?
Yeah, right. You remember how to use that thing?
Talk into this side.
Yeah, you're talking to the right side. Yeah, I know you have another podcast too. You're experienced.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast.
Man, it's good to see you, buddy. It's good to see you
too. It's good to see you too. It's legitimately, we haven't seen each other since we've texted and talked. Yeah. Probably or sent each other funny Instagram videos, probably daily.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't actually seen you or talked in a while. So it's good to be here. Yeah, if you've listened to Slasher already, you probably know a little bit what's up and what this episode's going to be about. Basically, in Josh Field, we'll just roundabout, but basically, we've decided at this point, and just the way timing worked out, and we'll get into all sort of the factors, but we're going to be saying, I'm going to say see you later, not a full out goodbye.
See you later, yeah.
Yeah, we're saying see you later for the PUDs Podcast. It wasn't a decision that I took lightly. Just the timing of everything and how it worked out. But yeah, I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. It kind of sucks saying that to a degree.
This is a very bittersweet episode.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I have kind of talked about it amongst ourselves for a little bit, and I mean, just thinking back into how we got here, how we started, a little over 2 years ago. So we're a little bit past the 2-year mark for the PUDs Podcast, and a little over 2 years ago when we kind of got this thing rolling, it was very much like we just kind of picked up and went, and really had no idea.
And I have to give you full credit for pushing me to do a podcast, which is kind of funny because now I'm helping out with another podcast. Yeah. And we did this one for over 2 years. And like you said, it was March 28th, 2023. We dropped our first episode of the PUDs pilot. So it's been a little over 2 years. But yeah, Josh was definitely the tipping point. I think we would be golfing or hanging out together, and you'd just be like, we should just do a podcast. Everybody has a podcast nowadays. And I had all the audio equipment. And then before you know it, we're sitting in my upstairs office area, music room, whatever kind of miscellaneous room, and then we're doing the thing.
The Black Cat Studio. Give it some damn credit.
Yeah, or Black Cat Studios, as I like to call it now.
Yeah. And I mean, it was one of those things where just kind of every time we would get together, we would just banter and riff and have these conversations that would keep us both entertained for whatever 4 hours on the golf course or on vacation or whatever, and keep other people entertained and laughing and enjoying that time. And that was a lot of what we wanted to bring to this podcast. And just to think we took that, sat down, and just kind of just went for it, and to see where it is now, to see what we've been able to accomplish in that time it's really been incredible. It's it's hard to put words to, because I never expected to get to this point of the amount of fans that we have, the amount of feedback that we get, and the kind words and responses and the engagement from the listeners and things like that, the community. It really has been mind-blowing throughout this time.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty crazy. Like you said, I do want to highlight, it's just funny. I've got the episode list up in front of me, and I know you kind of did some stats and stuff too, Josh. But yeah, we just riffed for the first probably 7 episodes. We did have our significant others on to talk about the PUDs Podcast origin story episode. I guess that was our first, technically, an interview of anybody. But our first real interview was actually our buddy Adam and your good friend Adam.
Right. Yeah.
That was really our first interview, and then we kind of riffed for a while, and then you got me and Ash got into the 48 episodes.
Yeah,
that did really well. And it is you see, there is this general migration into more hiking stuff that kind of happened, which I think Josh maybe tried to keep from happening sometimes, and then finally you just kind of were
just gave in.
Gave in because those episodes were doing really well too. I
Yeah.
think like the 48 episodes really were some of the first episodes we had that did super well. Though I mean, I always say that one of my favorite episodes is Little Sailor Josh. If any of you are out there and you haven't gone, and I want to be clear too, and we're just letting the conversation go where it is, but I'm going to basically have the episodes up for download of PUDs Podcast for the foreseeable future. It's not going anywhere in your podcast feed. Yeah, there's not going to be new episodes, or certainly not as regular as we've been. I think we kind of really settled into that weekly cadence this past year, or at least this past 8 months, I would say. But yeah, you can check out the back catalog. And like Josh said, I think it's crazy looking, but, and I think I said this on Slasher too. Like I hate the term content nowadays. I feel like everybody's like, we're content creators, we create content, but I think we really do have some genuinely good content, and we really had some great interviews. We got deep with ourselves on some of the, like, talking about losing our dads. Like, we really covered, in addition to hiking and just the conversations that come up with the White Mountains hiking community and stuff, like, we really talked about a lot of stuff on this podcast, like all over the map.
Yeah,
like,
we sure did. And that's kind of what happened. Was we started off, and it was like weekly or every other week or whenever we could find the time at the beginning.
It really was not very regular. Like, we weren't. Not that I always thought that was important. Like, I think we settled in more just and got more disciplined as time went on.
Right. But it was like kind of like, all right, what do we talk about now? Well, let's tell stories of this. Like, let's get into this, and like we'll do some time on this and some time on this and some time on that, and it took a little while for us to figure out and to kind of go through and take the growing pains and really to figure out, all right, we have content now, how can we make this content flow better? And that's when we kind of started doing like the segmented stuff and like kind of breaking it up into the different like segments of the episode, and that was cool. And then it was like, all right, how else can we engage? And that's when we started bringing on like Adam and all the other guests. We had in our time we had 24 guests, so out of the 77
it doesn't
episodes,
seem like that many.
It doesn't seem like that many, but it was like what a great opportunity it was for the people that we had on to be able to share their story too, because we would come on and tell our stories every week, and like Adam and Lynn Sweezy, Phil Karsha,
Gwen Stratton,
Gwen.
We had, of course, Stomp and Mike from Slasher.
Yep. We got the 100-mile guys.
Yes.
The 100-milers.
Yeah, Nick Higgins and
Nick and James
Leitner. I'm looking through the episodes while I'm talking right now. Nick and James. We had Brittany Wasick from Tay's Summit Challenge on.
Yeah.
We had Mike and Lori, our good friends Mike and Lori, been on a few times. The Himalayas episode, I think, is probably one of our heavier hitting hiking episode downloads as well. I think that's a very entertaining one. And we did a lot of just topical, like, I mean, this is stuff too, like me and Josh just enjoyed talking about, like the New Hampshire stories and cryptids.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like that was, and I do want to, and this is we're not going to get too much into stats, but I do want to say, as of right now, as of where we are, our good friend Dave Shits in the Woods, his episode crushed it. It's got the most downloads by quite a bit. I think it's probably because, I don't know what it says about maybe our fans, but I think maybe the New Hampshire Inappropriate 69 is a pretty eye-catching title.
Yes, I think so.
Also the Dave Shits in the Woods part of that. But that episode absolutely crushed it. And then, I mean, I really enjoyed, thank you for our buddy, our Paul Lamar sort of hopping on as co-host, sort of rounding this out.
Oh yeah, we got to shout out Paul.
Yeah, Paul did great, given the time frame and just kind of getting into the hot seat. I think he had been on Slasher like once before we had him on, really to sit in as sort of a co-host and then kind of sit in with just me and some of the guests we had. Paul, you did a great job researching, preparing. He did better than I did with Lila and Mike Sherm, and certainly Lila especially. But yeah, like we had a lot of fun even up to these last two episodes. And I mean, at Corey Outdoors, like I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to shout out everybody, but
we can't shout out everybody.
We could just shout out everybody, but yeah, it's
you know who you are. If you were on the podcast,
everybody.
Yeah. If you were on the PUDs podcast, you know who you are, and trust me, we appreciate the time. We appreciate your presence and what you had to share. Trust me, it was really something special. And basically for me,
Jake,
so part of
just going.
Oh yeah, Jake. Yeah, and Trokey, Mike Trokey.
Yeah, Mike Trokey.
That was early on.
Friends.
But Fawn.
Yeah, Fawn was awesome, dude.
We had so many.
Yeah, my father-in-law Tony.
Oh yeah,
I'm just going through them. I'm just going through them now. Why not? What are we doing here, anyways? But yeah, I think that's most people. I'm sure there's someone that's not there, but yeah, it's been awesome.
Impact Botanicals, Rachel.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yeah.
But so kind of for me, how I got to this point was, I think it was right around the Phil Karsha episode where we are like super in depth to somebody who is like giving it all to hiking and things like that, and the investment that he had, and for me, I don't think I've been. I don't think it's a big secret. Like I don't hike. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So as we kind of navigated very successfully, in my opinion, to becoming a majority hiking podcast, I just, in the back of my head, I just kind of had felt like I wasn't the right person to be here to pour out like the knowledge, the information, to keep the conversations going. The way that Nick has studied and just has done this, like is out there and experiencing it and making it a part of his daily and weekly routine and the commitment that it takes. It just wasn't. I didn't have it there. So when we had these people on, like especially like Lynn Sweezy, it was like.
Yeah, and the Nick Higgins James episode and stuff. I think that's around when you started talking to me, and I could tell. And you were like, "I need to call you," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah. So I kind of got to the point where I was like, "There's somebody else out there that would be better at doing this on a weekly basis and would continue to help the success, and maybe even push the success of the podcast even further." And I just got to the point where I just didn't feel engaged anymore because I kind of felt left out of the conversation, and it was like not on nobody's fault or anything like that, no fault of anybody's. It was just kind of one of those things where the conversation started to outgrow me and my knowledge and my engagement for the topic, and which was a good thing, because as that was happening, the podcast was becoming more and more. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and I just got to the point where and Nick knows me well enough, and for those of you, the listeners that don't know me, I'm a pretty straightforward guy. Like if I feel some type of way, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna tell you how I feel.
Yeah, you're not. Josh doesn't beat around the bush for.
Yeah,
I think we're both not great people at beating around the bush, but
yeah, there's no beating around the bush. So when I kind of got to that point, and I was feeling that way, and I was just like, all right, I had the knot in my stomach. I'm like, I don't want to call Nick. I don't want to let him down, but I just can't do it anymore. So I had called Nick and kind of laid it out there to him, explained it the kind of the same way that I just explained it here on the podcast. And I could tell, like, I'm like, this, it sucks. It sucks to, like, this is one of my best friends that we've experienced this and done this for over 2 years with one another. We built it together through highs, lows, like built it from nothing to where it was now. And finally we're at a peak, and it's like, I just kind of, I'm sure for you, Nick, and maybe you can speak on it after, but it kind of probably felt like I was pulling the rug out from under you. And it was like, I'm like, but I just couldn't continue to feel like, yeah, this is not for me. It's just the thought of like, there is definitely somebody that can help move it forward, and then seeing Paul come on and how well that you guys work together and how well the hiking content and all that stuff, those conversations went, I'm like, yeah, it was like, I got obviously this is great, and it was, and Paul did a fantastic job, and I mean, I'm sure you'll discuss it in a little bit, but that's a potential continuation of what happens here, wherever this podcast may go.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, and I've already given Paul the heads up that if we do any other episodes, like he's in the hot seat, like he will be the guy. Yeah. So,
and what a great guy to have, and
absolutely.
I'm glad that maybe their door is still open for it, but so we kind of hung up that call, and you know how fate works. Like not too long after that, Nick got a second call.
Yeah. So I mean, it sucked. I was glad that you were upfront with me. Within probably a few hours, I think I was texting people being like, hey, like who would be interested? Paul, for whatever reason, I think was sort of at the top. I mean, and it's no offense to anybody else, but he that I know and I'm friends with and hike with or whatever, but he just kind of came top of mind. For whatever reason, I don't really particularly know. Like obviously he's a well-spoken dude and he's a really nice guy and he's involved in Alzheimer for the Alz 48 stuff, and whatnot. So he kind of came in mind, but yeah, he stepped in pretty much willingly. And literally, I mean literally in a completely literal sense, 2 days later after Josh called me, Stomp from the Slasher podcast reached out to me asking if it would be a conflict of interest if I were to co-host on Slasher from time to time. And I told him the whole scenario that sort of just unfolded. And keep in mind at this point too, we had 4 or 5 future guests or bookings on the calendar. I think we had 3 at that time or whatever. Right. So like we kind of had shows. So I was kind of trying to find someone to sit in, and Josh, I know you were willing to sit in, but I was like, I didn't feel right about it with you telling me that you felt bad already. And you kind of, frankly, you wanted out of it. And you were honest with me about that. So I'm like, I don't want to keep you here if someone else will be willing to step in. So, that's pretty much what happened. And, I was talking with Mike and Stomp a little bit, and, kind of with what's going on over there. There was just desire to have me probably help co-host a little bit. I know that they're going to be broadening that sort a little bit. I'll let them speak to that. It's their thing. So they certainly have spoken, I think, to it a little bit already. And some of you have probably noticed there's just been some different co-hosts on there. But it also, to some fashion, I think, and I already have produced 2 of the So You Want episodes. So I'm helping out there and hopefully help out behind the scenes a little bit. With what they're doing, because they've certainly have a lot going on, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for those guys. They've been nothing but kind to us as far as when we've asked them logistical questions about podcasting and what they do, guests and sponsorships and things like that. Like Mike, who I mean, I think everybody kind of knows I've hiked with Mike a decent amount. I haven't gone out with Stomp yet, unfortunately, but certainly hung out with him and done musical things and a couple other side things here and there. But they've been super kind to us, really helpful with questions. And certainly, I think they're sort of a linchpin in the hiking community right now. I don't know if they even thought that was going to happen when they started their podcast like 5 years deep. But yeah, the timing was pretty wild with how everything happened. So if you don't listen to Slasher and you do listen to us, I highly recommend you listen to Slasher. And I will be likely on there. You'll hear a good amount from me over there, and I'll probably be helping out behind the scenes a bit with what they're doing. So yeah.
How do you, so now that we're kind of at that point, Nick, because even before we started doing this, I know you had brought the Slasher podcast to me a few times. Like, is it like almost, I don't want to say maybe a dream come true, but is it like, I like, what's your thought of like now this podcast that you've listened to and you've kind of, I don't know if idolized is the right word, but really just held in high esteem now that you are like a significant part of that. How does that feel?
It feels good. Like I'm like, I don't want to basically, I mean, I'm honored to help out, and I'm honored that they reached out to me. I had been on the podcast, I think twice, kind of as a guest. And then we did one episode out recently, co-hosting with sort of Lynn and Mike, which was a bunch of fun. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, I like I said, I have a lot of respect for those guys. I think the amount of content you talk about, we produced a lot of content. They have a tremendous amount. They've had basically a weekly regimen for for like 5 years now.
Wow.
Which is a lot of time and dedication, a lot of mixing that Stomp's done.
Yeah.
And God knows, I mean, they've done all these live events and done things like this, and I mean, they're big at this point. I would debatably say they're a huge hiking podcast for how many, when you talk about like not just content, but in terms of what they do in the community, and how this is all just, I'm saying, aside from just probably pure listenership and stuff and how many downloads and whatever, things like that. Like and they've been helpful to me. I've enjoyed listening to them for quite some time now. So yeah, it's really cool to be on there. And I didn't dive into too, so to just continue the conversation a little bit with why we decided to sort of just go on hiatus for now is and this is proposed, I mean, too, I'm just being open with people, but like I actually talked with Mike too about like he was very willing to hop on PUDs and like help out over here, which I greatly appreciate. And like there was no pressure at all on their side for like, hey, like, are you still gonna be able to do PUDs and do this? Like Mike was very open to like whatever I wanted to do. And the more I thought about it, and I'm starting to think of like, well, if like we're getting guests for PUDs, like usually it's the same people you could have on Slasher, same people on Slasher and PUDs. And like there's been some crossover where we've had some of the same people. It's not like we're like poaching guests or anything from each other. And there's plenty to talk about within the Whites, people and topics and whatnot. But yeah, I'm losing my train of thought.
It's hard on top of that because you already do like all the editing, the
exactly
audio editing
so
and stuff like that.
You're bringing me back on track. So yeah, like when we started thinking about whether, and like I started to think more in my head about if it really made sense to keep it going. And I'm like, then I really kind of was on the period of like, well, maybe I could help out with Slasher, but still do like 2 episodes of PUDs or whatever. And then I kind of just started thinking about it more. And I'm like, if I can help them out and we've done our thing, then I'm going to try to just help them out. So they asked me, like I said, so I kind of was like, I was joking with Mike and whatever. I'm like, I got my Slasher hoodie. I got my Slasher shirt. Like I'm team Slasher sort of once April starts. We're a little late getting this episode out, but it is what it is, just between life and me having the flu and you traveling for work and things
Oklahoma.
like that. Yeah, you were in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
But yeah, that's the way it worked out. So I kind of came upon the decision of like, I can't be, especially if I'm mixing a few episodes, like a month or whatever, and maybe co-hosting a couple times, like to do that week to week. And I'll be honest too. And I think a lot of people maybe don't realize, like, even if it is just like an hour or two that you're recording every week, and then you're mixing an episode, and like Stomp's very quick and very proficient at doing it. He's definitely quicker than I am. And I've gotten quicker over the years for sure too, at putting out episodes where I can turn them around pretty quickly. Yeah. But it's a time commitment every week. And then if you start finding guests and lining people up or getting topics, like it turns into like a side job. Like I think me and Josh started to say at one point, like we're literally, it's like kind of becoming not like a part-time job. I mean, it might be like 6-7 hours a week total that you're doing, looking at stuff. And when you're communicating with other guests, like some people were pretty easy to arrange with, some people not as easy. And then when we started kind of getting some sponsors and going back and forth here and there, like all of a sudden it becomes like, okay, like me and Josh are texting each other like all day, or at least most of the weekdays, like every day, kind of back and forth about podcast stuff. So before you know it, and we're super happy that happened. Like it's not like I was ever mad at that, but I guess this is a long-winded way of saying that I'm also not necessarily mad about not having to like record like every week and line up a guest every week. And kind of do that. I'm happy to help out with and there's going to be some guests coming up on Slasher that I had reached out to that will be kind of in episodes down the line. But it's nice, not very, and no offense to you, Josh, but like I was finding, because it became more hiking related, I was finding most of the guests and reaching out to people. So
yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, so it becomes a lot week to week.
I would do everything I could to try to like throw my hat.
You thought of hiking buddies, and absolutely. There were. I shouldn't say it's not like there's nobody that you found.
Yeah, it was just like I was definitely more of the like the format guy than the content guy.
Yeah. So I did want to mention one thing
you
too.
know what I mean?
Yeah, and I wanted to mention one thing too, that a lot of people enjoy it. Now you're just funny and you're a good guy, which is entertaining, and you're entertaining to listen to on the podcast, which I think everybody can agree with. You. But a lot of times you brought a perspective that non-hikers have to certain things. Like I think when you were asking me about the AMC Zealand hut, like Zealand Falls hut, like that was a good example. Like a lot of, I had quite a few people come up to me and be like, oh, Joshua's asking really good questions. I'm like, yeah, because he's good at asking questions, but you bring this perspective of someone that doesn't necessarily hiccup in the winter, and you were genuinely curious about it. And it was cool to see that perspective, because I think there's people who maybe haven't done that before. I mean, that was my first hut stay, but it was surprising how many people kind of talked to me being like, that was cool that Josh like kind of, because you kept asking, like, I think at one point even you were like, oh, like, sorry, I keep asking questions or whatever back to the hut, because I was like trying to tell the story or whatever. But
I'm curious like a cat. That's why my friends call me Whiskers.
But there was just I think you brought a good perspective to the podcast as a non-hiker. So
yeah, I tried to do everything I could to keep conversations going, and the real heart and passion and heart and soul of what we did was definitely all on you. Like you brought the absolute joy of what it is that we discussed, like especially when we got into hiking. The early stuff, it was just like that was just us doing our that was like
spitballing.
Yeah, that was just spitballing. We would just show up and not even know what we were talking about, just turn the mics on and let it go and let it rip and see where it went. Or we would have a loose guideline, but once we started honing it in, it was like, yeah, the heart and soul of what we did was from you, Nick. And I remember saying it a few times, like, what your passion for what it is that we were discussing, like, you can see it. Like, you would get this excitement as you're having the conversation of something that you already did, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't. But it was like, but that is who you are, and that's why there was this great success within this podcast, was because of the passion and the heart that you had into these conversations. It was 100% key to why people connected, why people. I mean, how many times did you hear like people giving you shout outs for how well you would break down like a hike, and it was like, because that's what you do. Like,
yeah, I mean, and again, I think it reminds me a lot of like Mike and Stomp and how they are, and other people we know in the hiking community, like Lynn or Philip Karsher or like Nick Higgins or these other people too, where it's like I am like, even if I'm not out hiking, like I really love hiking. I love the whites. I love learning about the history in the whites. Even if I'm not out hitting the trails, I'm usually talking to people who have been getting out hiking. Kind of now, especially now, and a lot of the people I've met over the past few years. I really enjoy watching like lame documentaries on the whites and reading books about them. Like I have a book on logging, like. And yeah, I mean, it's even at the point where, I mean, even my wife, like Ash and best hiking buddy, like she definitely tunes me out, like sometimes when I'm talking about hiking or weather or things like that. Yeah. And that's fine. Like I don't blame her, because it's something I'm super passionate about.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, kind of with me, it's like music, and right now in my life, it's like my kid, music, photography, hiking. Like that's really, I mean, that's kind of the main things, and podcasting, I guess, too. But yeah, that is how I am. It's not an act. Like I don't just turn it on, the hiking passion on. I think one of the times in I don't know, I'll just kind of harken back to it, but I remember when we talked to Gwen, we stopped recording, and I kind of like said, I fanboyed out a little bit. I get, you could say, like, I'm not ashamed of it. Like, she's an awesome hiker, and she was super fun to talk to, and I still enjoy following all the crazy routes and all these awesome things she's doing up in the whites. But yeah, I kind of fanboyed out, and Josh was like, why did you stop recording? Like, you should have just let that run, because you were actually like being more real with her. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I probably should have done that. But I also I guess I felt awkward and maybe a little embarrassed about that. But there's definitely,
you want your wife to hear it?
Yeah, there's definitely too funny. But there's definitely been people that I've sort of, like I really admire, and I really love the community up here, and it's crazy to all of a sudden find, like, our podcast has become a part of it. Like I don't think it's being cocky or an overstatement at all. Like I've shipped out, I can tell you, like, honest truth, I've shipped out probably like, I don't know, 100 different addresses of stickers to people from North Carolina to like all the way up in Maine. So I think the furthest I had one down in Florida. Like there's people all the way up and down the East Coast that have listened to our podcast. And I want to thank a couple people too had reached out to me since either hearing Slasher's episode where I kind of talked about the deal with PUDs or whatever, but I want to thank people for reaching out. And again, I appreciate a lot of the kind words. Nobody had anything bad to say. Luckily, that's reached out so far. Maybe someone's going to come out of the woodwork and be like, you guys are a bunch of assholes. I'm glad your podcast is dead.
Just keep that to yourself. If that's you, just keep it to yourself because we're not going to pay attention to it anyways.
Yeah, we're both very sensitive. I can't handle it. I'll handle it on the surface and then it'll just fester and bloom in some other way. But yeah, everybody's been super kind and we really from our hearts, like, thank you so much for listening to us. Everybody out there, thank you everybody who ever reached out saying that you appreciate an episode, anybody who asked us questions or had comments or anything, all our guests. I know we said thanks again. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy, and to look back at over 2 years of doing this and see all the things that we did and all the people we've talked to, and
seriously,
yeah, like it's pretty wild.
Yeah. I want to thank you all too, and I don't want this to be confused with just because I've felt the way that I felt. I love this community as well. Like, I know I don't go out there and I'm not chasing a 48. I'm not gritting. I'm not doing anything. I'm barely getting outside of my neighborhood.
And I want to point out that before this podcast, Josh had no idea what gritting was.
Yep.
He had no idea what tracing or redlining was.
True.
He didn't know what a winter 48 was. Like, I just wanted to call it out. So it's not like, and just to harken your point, like, you know about all this shit now.
So the knowledge is there. There's just no experience. There's just no experiencing.
You just don't get out a lot. But it's so just passion, man. It's just what you're interested in.
And so I don't want that to be taken as like I don't like or care about this community.
You were never like faking anything.
Oh yeah, I love these people. Like I like, and when I truly like, when I was just talking to Lynn and seeing how much like effort and care she gives into it, it really opens my eyes to like, oh man, this is the passion that people have and the dedication that they have to this thing is something special, and I truly mean that. So I really, I do love this community. I love the things that are happening. I love the outreach that happens. I love the picking each other up, trying to teach people. Like, I love everything that's happening out there, and it's just, I'm just not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not in that community to be able to like share it with anybody else. I can tell maybe a newer person like, hey, this is what the winter 48 is, but I couldn't tell you how to get to that. I couldn't tell you anything about the trailhead. I couldn't tell you nothing. You know what I mean? But yeah, it really has been fantastic, and I mean, you know, I love you, buddy, and I love everybody that we've come in contact with. I really loved doing that the event at Reckless and kind of meeting some fans. That was absolutely an eye-opening moment for me to see like the people that actually were listening, to put some names, some faces to some names. That was something special too. So it was like it's really been incredible, and it's great. I look forward to seeing, as you continue to go, Nick, and as you continue to do your thing, I continue to look forward to listening and hearing you speak. And like I said, I'm locked into that passion that you have, buddy.
Appreciate it, buddy. So we talked about where I'm going, but I think you talked about your Not Safe for Sunday podcast a bit before, but do you want to chat about that a little bit? If people want to know if they can hear that sultry voice of yours, if they just can't, they need it.
If you want to hear me continue to talk on a podcast, so I think we brought it up one episode, but I do have a second podcast that I've been doing for not even quite a year now, but and it's called the Not Safe for Sunday podcast, and I kind of started it with the pastor of my church and one of the worship leader over there, and we kind of have built like this podcast to kind of break down some of the barriers that are kind of people put up between Christianity and what we call the life or the real world, and we kind of want to break down some of those things and really just show that, yeah, even though we believe in God and we're Christians, we live the same lives that you live. Nick can attest to that. I live a very similar lifestyle too. Well, not maybe not exactly the same, but I'm not any different because I'm a Christian. I don't hold judgment against anybody that's not, and it's just, we want to show people that we come from a place of love and kind of just, like I said, break down some of those barriers or stereotypes that kind of keeps people away. So you can find us anywhere at NSFS Podcast. We're on all the same podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. We do post our videos and reels on YouTube. So yeah, if you want to check us out, you want to continue to listen to me talk, it'll be we do it every other week. So every couple weeks you'll have a chance to do that. But we'd really appreciate it if you did listen. But you can definitely continue to listen to the episodes we've already dropped here on PUDs, and definitely I would highly recommend continuing to listen to Slasher if you haven't already. I know we share a lot of the same fans, but if you aren't a fan, go check them out.
Yeah, for sure. There's some overlap. I don't even know if I called out Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast yet either, but it sounds like a search and rescue podcast. Everybody calls it Slasher, I think, that listens to it. Yeah, and they've been around something like 5 years now, but all New Hampshire related, White Mountains hiking mostly, and just general hiking podcast. So
what was your I know you said it was Little Sailor Josh. Was that your favorite episode?
I think that's one of just the funniest episodes that we've had. It'd be really tough for me to pick a favorite episode, to be honest
with
you.
Picking a favorite kid.
It is, yeah. It's pretty tough.
I think some of my funniest part is definitely that the sauna story, dude.
The sauna story. Yeah, what was that in?
Steaming up the hams.
That's right.
That's episode 2.
I was just grabbing phrases from the podcast at that point, which is fine. Yeah. It's not like I don't do it anymore, but it's just kind of funny to see my mentality of how to name these kind of changed over time. Yeah, steaming up the hams is pretty funny.
Yeah, that was.
It's always good if you're cracking yourself up.
Yeah, that was so good. So good. So many good interviews, dude. So many good moments. Yeah. We never got to gardening. I'm sorry about that, Nick.
No, we never did get to gardening. It's mentioned a lot. I think I proposed it and it got shot down, but it's okay.
Never got to that gardening episode.
As far as like it's kind of even like with the process, I started to get into write notes, and one of the ones that I was kind of I guess prouder, at least from my note taking kind of deal. And this is funny. This is like literally 2 weeks ago, someone reached out to me, but someone was going to Joshua Tree, one of our listeners, and they were like, "Oh, I'll listen to this podcast," and they actually were thinking of climbing San Jacinto. And it was kind of cool because they were like, "Oh, they're like, thanks for giving me a good overview." And then they were kind of asking for some more suggestions. But I was like, honestly, just listen to the podcast episode if you're going to Joshua Tree, because I think I'm no expert by any means on there, but I think I did a pretty good job. Like I had 3 or 4 pages of notes on those episodes. So if it sounds like I'm just kind of banging through factoids, it's because I was.
It took us 2 episodes to get through all the notes.
Yeah. We broke it into basically 2 different episodes for just San Jacinto and Joshua Tree.
It was pretty. That was epic. That was when you were like, that was peak like Nick prep was the San Jacinto episode, dude.
Yeah, and I'm trying to just think of other like random things. So for stats, we had 77 episodes. This will be the 78th that we had. You said 24 guests.
Yeah.
A little over 2 years. March 28th was sort of our podcast birthday. If we got anything else, I'm trying to think if excluding probably Ash. I'm trying to think of people who have been on twice. Probably Mike and Lori had been on twice. Lynn Sweezer had been on twice. The podcast 2-timers club, if you want to call it that. That was probably really it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who definitely like probably would love to have back, or people that are maybe potentially going to be on Slasher, I'll suggest too, because we had a lot of fun. with everybody. There's nobody that was like, honestly, at this point, I think with being the end of the podcast, maybe I'm not gonna like drop if anybody was like a dick. Like I feel like it's like when they talk about SNL, like who's the worst guest, but nobody was hard to work with. Like nobody was. Everybody we talked to was genuinely awesome.
Yeah, very gracious.
Obviously, you have people that just conversationally work better than others with me and Josh and how we talk and stuff. But people that we hadn't met in person that we just interviewed, like it went surprisingly well with everybody. Yeah. Like I thought sometimes it was going to be more awkward than it ended up being. It was pretty easy with everybody.
That's true. Because I don't think barely 10% of those people maybe we had met in person, if we're not counting our wives and like Mike and Lori and Adam.
Yeah, I mean, once we really got into just doing interviews, like I kind of was just hitting people up and being like, hey, would you like to come on?
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on down. Yeah. When the other cool thing is we partnered with 4 small businesses within, Impact's kind of a bigger business now, but 4 small businesses in our time as like having sponsorships. And I thought that was pretty cool because a couple of these businesses we helped really get started and grow. So we got Impact Botanicals, Roots Coffee, Roasters, Adventuristic, and you actually just partnered with somebody else for your art, right?
Yeah, Christy Rafferty, who kind of rolls with some of the Littlefoot crew. Not that I know she does other stuff. I'm sorry, Christy, if you're listening to this. I'm not trying to generalize you. Like that's the only thing you do is hike with them. No, she's awesome. She has basically an Etsy store called Bristol Peak Rustics. And I know they also have a location called, I believe it's New Hampshire Gifts. I can correct that in editing if I need to. Over in kind of by Lake Winnipesaukee in Guilford. You can kind of check them out if you want to. But I'd been looking for a way to potentially share some of the photography I've gathered. I don't know how to say it. Like just photos I've taken hiking in the Whites. And gotten good feedback from a lot of friends and family. And a lot of people have told me like, hey, you should do cards or just do prints or do something like that. And I don't know. I was talking to her actually about making a trail sign because she makes custom trail signs of Airline cut off my adopted trail. And this is probably back around Christmas or before Christmas. And I kind of got the idea. I'm like, what's the worst that could happen if I ask? But I'm like, hey, would you think it'd be like, you'd be willing to maybe put up some of my prints for sale on your Etsy page? And she was kind of busy at the time. I'm sure it's just hectic with the holidays and people buying gifts and things like that. So she's like, I'll get back to you. So eventually she did get back to me and long story short, we've got 15 of my prints up for sale on her site. So you can check them out at Bristol Peak Rustics. If you just kind of Google them, whatever, you can find them. They're over on Etsy, Bristol Peak Rustics, at Bristol Peak Rustics. If you want them Instagram or Facebook, you can find them on the same name. And there's a Nick Sidla photography section on over there. So yeah, buy my photos, look at them. And if you have any suggestions of prints you'd like to see up there, let me know because we can make that happen. Available in matte or glossy. But yeah, it's been awesome partnering with Christy, and it seems like it's a good fit. Hopefully it'll be a good fit going forward. And yeah. So
you got the undercast. Do you got the undercast photos up there?
Yeah, I have one undercast photo. Yeah, maybe I'll share out some with this post. I'm actually due to do a post and show out the 5 newer prints we had. And yeah, I kind of sent her some photos that I really liked and got feed, and she kind of was like very much like paramount, like you're kind of the one who did it. Like if you like this photo and I didn't like this photo, like just use the photo that you like. But I kind of tried to take a 50-50 of like ones that she thought were interesting and ones that I thought were interesting. Cool. And I think they're mostly, I'll potentially be getting some that aren't just the Whites, but Northeast. But I do have a beautiful one of San Jacinto from Joshua Tree that I took. So there's definitely some non-Whites ones, but sweet. Being that kind of a White Mountains sort of a related store, I'm trying to keep it sort of that. But so exciting stuff. I got a couple irons in the fire right now, and I think everybody knows too. Like I intermittently make YouTube videos. I've shared them on our page and stuff before. So that's because
Nick not only hikes, but he also plays guitar.
Yeah, that was the old Instagram handle that I changed. I'm Nick in Nature. You can find me. Obviously, it's always linked in the show. I don't think we've actually said that in a while. What our actual Instagram handles are, but mine is Nick__in__nature. If you do want to see basically just hiking photos or photos of just things I find interesting. Like not all of it's hiking. Like sometimes I just post things of like the East Providence bike path or or things in Rehoboth or whatever that I'm taking photos of in videos, but that's mostly. So where can the people find you? And you used to just be J Rogers like 32 or something.
Yeah, I am now Josh _talks.
Yeah,
so,
there's some theme there.
Something going on there. It's weird. It's weird. It's almost as if all the good ones are taken.
Yeah, almost.
I like Josh Talks though. That's a good one. But yeah, it's I mean it's been an absolute journey. It's been an absolute pleasure, Nick. I'm gonna miss just seeing you every week because I really got used to that.
Yes.
But yeah, but I mean we'll I mean it's not like we don't talk like at least once a week already. So
no.
Yeah, we'll keep it up. We'll keep it up. So don't worry about us, people. We are still best friends.
Yes.
There's no rift.
All is well in PUDs land.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I had really much else to say. Like I said, where it's not goodbye, it's see you later. Which I was wondering where that phrase comes from because I feel like you hear that, but it's like in songs and movies and all sorts of stuff. So I couldn't find out what the origin of it. But yeah, I don't want to close the door. There might be a time where I go hiking with Ash and I'm just like, hey, we're just gonna do a PUDs podcast episode on this, or maybe me and Paul. I'll drag Paul back.
It's not goodbye. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's good.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
It's good. There was a little delay, so that's why I just paused. Yeah, maybe I'll drag Paul back on as well. I think he finally got up Willie too, which if anybody wanted that as a cliffhanger, he did finally get Mount Willie. I know, like we teased that for a while. He tried to get it up at twice.
Oh yeah, that was
third time with Christian Hikes the Weights.
Yeah, that was hanging. For a while, whether or not he was going to actually get up Willie at some point. But it's definitely bittersweet in this. Although this might be the last iteration of how you see the PUDs, it doesn't mean necessarily that the PUDs is done for good. So you might not see it in this aspect anymore with Nick and Josh, but if somebody else comes and fills this, the content's going to be just as good as where we left off. So.
Yep, and just highlighting again, like we're going to be leaving it up. The YouTube channel will still be up. Like nothing's going anywhere. It's not like we're ripping it down. Like I said, I'm pretty proud of what we've done, especially from people that never had any podcasting experience.
For sure.
Putting out like 78 episodes at this point after this drops, over a little over 2 years. So I'm keeping it up. And there's some
best
good
part
resources too.
We didn't even take any advice. Like we didn't even research it. We just jumped right in.
We did. We just started recording and found Buzzsprout and went to town.
That was it. Well, then Nick, for one last time, do you want to get into the descent?
Absolutely, buddy. Let's do it. All right, so while we didn't do any other segments tonight, we're going to do the descent because we want to do a hypothetical, and it felt like the hypothetical was a part of the descent, so this is why there's a descent, and we didn't do anything else.
We got to get to the hypothetical, too.
Yeah.
we definitely have to do it.
Since we're in the descent, I will shout out just a couple, like, since we last left off. I'm trying to think we were talking about the Adirondacks, what I was hiking, and then... Gosh, I don't even know if there was anything really after that. But what's been going on as far as when I've been hiking the last few weeks is about 3 weeks ago, I was in the Belknaps with Mike from Slasher and Paul Jakester, Paul Gamir from basically who pulled me out of the giant spruce trap. And my friend
he
Peter.
Did end up hiking with you again.
Yeah, he did hike with me again. But
good.
Yeah, like Ash and Rylan had a bad flu bug. And I thought I figured I wasn't going to escape it because I was in the same house with them and they both have been fighting it for like a week and a half and then we're feeling better. But like literally in the middle of a hike in the northern end of the Belknap Range, which is south of the Whites around Winnipesaukee, it has its own list. You can look it up separately if you want to. They have a great website resource. But yeah, like right in the middle of going up Gunstock, I was like, I think I have a fever. And I did have a fever. And I started to really feel like we went and got some food after, and I really did not feel good by the time. By the time I got back to my car, I rode up with Peter and Jake, and yeah, like it came on strong. So I kind of was knocked out of even like I'm just getting back into the swing of sort of running and doing stuff again, and certainly took a little toll, like not working out or doing much cardio for 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, it finally got up to and did most of the rest of the Belknap Range, sort of from the major side in the southern range. a couple weeks ago with Peter. And then last week was helping out a friend with something up in New Hampshire. So I actually took Wednesday off and got up to Cannon and bagged it for all seasons. So I got Cannon for spring, even though there's still like 4 feet of snow probably on top of Cannon right now. There's nothing. And there was a negative 10-degree wind chill on the summit, according to Mountain Forecast and weather.gov. So I think it's going to finally start warming up out there this year. But yeah, that was interesting. And I should have brought my snowshoes.
Gotta bring the snowshoes.
You can shame drop me there because I really was being stubborn. And I mean, I was fine on monorail in the middle, but yeah, there's still quite a bit of snow up in them hills this year. And unless we have a warm up, it's going to be sticking around in spots for a while. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little hiking catch up for everybody.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I started watching Severance. Have you seen Severance yet, Nick?
I have not, but Ash just told me that we need to get Apple TV Plus to watch it. Like everybody's raving about it.
Oh, it is so good. So good. Like I didn't want to buy into the hype. Everybody, like you said, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was raving about it.
Yeah, it feels like that right now.
And I'm like, this is just hype. And then on the plane home from Oklahoma, they had it for free. Like you could watch it in flight. So I watched like the first episode of the first season, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good."
Yeah,
yeah. So then I got home, and I'm like, "Babe, we have to watch this." And then we watched all of it in like 3 days, like both seasons.
Awesome. So it's just 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's only 2 seasons right now.
Is it like still going? It's still going though.
Yeah, it's still
not like
going.
Good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's like what's his name? Adam. I don't even know.
Guy from Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, yeah. Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec, and
Ben Stiller actually directed all of it. I think.
Yeah, Ben Stiller might be a better director than an actor. I'm gonna go hot take. Ben Stiller's probably a better director than he is an actor.
Yeah, with how things are shaking out with this show, it seems like it.
Yeah, but really good. Check it out. I won't get into any of it because it's very complicated and very I don't want to give any spoilers because it's just really good. So yeah, cool. Check that out.
Cool. So we started kind of on the topic of recent shows. We've only watched 1 episode so far, but I know you're a Black Mirror fan. So we started watching the new season. We just watched the first episode. It was funny too because like both me and Ash were like I don't know if it's just been so long since you watched Black Mirror, but we're like the next night we're like maybe we'll watch like we started watching Arrested Development too, which I've kind of has been on my list for a while, and it's funny. Yeah. But yeah, like the first episode, like they always start out the same way. They're always like kind of like there's this normal, like typically it's sort of normal, like a lot of the episodes, and then something weird starts happening. Yeah. And then it like gets really dark by the end. Like it seems like all the episodes are like that, and we're like, I think we will take a break. Like it's not. For me, I don't think I could watch like an episode every night before going to bed because some of it's just straight up like dark and twisted, and it's like I like it, I find it interesting, but yeah. So Dark Mirror, I think most people probably know about Dark Mirror by this point. Yeah, the deal, but yeah, it's good. It was a good episode
on Netflix. That's a good watch if you're into like any sci-fi or like Twilight Zone. Like Black Mirror is the way to go for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, man, you ready for a hypothetical?
Yeah, buddy, let's do it. The last hypothetical, right?
It just happened to happen this way. This is literally the last hypothetical.
So, all right, let's get to
it. All right, Nick.
Josh.
You die from natural causes. You ascend toward a warm white light. You immediately realize that you have entered the afterlife. And, much to your surprise, it is exactly like the cliched kindergarten version of Christian heaven. The ground is covered by a white cloud-like fog. Angels fly around you and play the harp. You are wearing a comfortable white robe. Everyone there is aimlessly walking around, smiling broadly, perfectly content. This, it seems, is how you will spend eternity. Upon your arrival, you are greeted by Jesus. And he looks exactly like a stereotypical depiction of Jesus. Welcome to heaven, he says. I think you will like it here, and I look forward to loving you unconditionally for the duration of time, but I also realize that heaven isn't necessarily for everyone. So I always give give newcomers a chance to go to the other place if that's what you would prefer. Are you referring to hell? You say in response. Oh no, says Jesus, not hell. Certainly not hell. I would never send you to hell. But you can go somewhere that isn't here. It is an other viable post-life option. About 18% of our potential residents go in that direction. What is this other place like, you ask? I can't tell you, says Jesus, but if you do elect to go there, you can never come back here, and you only have 20 minutes to decide. Why only 20 minutes? Why only 20, you ask? Because I'm Jesus, says Jesus. What do you do?
Fair. Oh, man. It's a weird one.
That's tough. That's a tough one, too.
18%, huh?
18%
That's a good amount.
People.
It's almost 20%. Yeah. That's what I was thinking with 18%. Almost one out of every 5.
The other place, not hell. So it's not hell. It's not a hell place.
Yeah.
It's just the other place.
Cosmic void. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm probably just staying there. Seems like a safe. Depending who's there too. Like if like other people, your family and stuff is there. Like I think I'm just gonna chill.
Just hang around there.
Yeah.
It's too big of a risk, right? Because you really don't know anything about this other place. You just know that it's not hell. That's it.
Yeah, it
isn't here. It's an other viable post-life option.
That's really vague. What does a viable post-life option mean? Like all it has to be for a post-life option is like you just exist there for the rest of your life.
Right?
Yeah, like it's not like it could be it's just a golf course, like you know what I mean? Like this.
But you can't play golf. Like that'd be terrible.
Yeah. Might be that's probably my father-in-law's version of hell, actually.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't
He's like,
play?
I'm at a golf course. Awesome. Wait, you can't play?
It's a frost delay.
Yeah.
It's never ending.
Just a never ending frost delay. At Acushnet River Valley.
Poor Tony.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can't. You gotta just stay, right? You gotta just stay right where you're at.
There. Yeah, I think you stay there.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. These have been fun. These hypotheticals have been fun for sure.
They have
50 of them, dude. We did all 50.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know that is a lot.
I still like the Shaq one the best that we did with Mike and Lori.
The Shaq. I like the painter. I still think that's one.
Oh, the painter. Favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
The painter's an interesting scenario. I think that one really diverted us. I feel like we both had clear stance. We're like, I don't care what he does. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm with you, buddy. But all right, man. Well, do you still have stickers?
I do. Yeah, not a ton. I mean, depending on demand for them, I'll probably print more if I need to. Like we're almost out. Yeah, if you want your stickers, PUDs Podcast stickers, please reach out on any of the socials. We'll send them to you. We just need your name, address, whatever, and we'll get them out to you. And yeah, I'm kind of down, but yeah, like legitimately, I think we've done, I don't know, a couple orders of 100 or so each. So yeah, they've gone, even after like some of the in-person stuff, we've handed them out. So that's been cool. I like how they look. Our good logo by our good friend Lori.
Yeah,
who's doing all sorts of good stuff now.
That's been awesome.
Yeah.
That's been awesome. So
still stickers.
Yeah, so that means that you can still find us at PUDs Podcast on social media, anywhere you get your podcast. You can see us on YouTube at PUDs_podcast. You can find Nick at Nick in Nature. You can find where can you find the Slasher Podcast?
I think it's just at Slasher Podcast. Yeah, it sounds like a search and rescue podcast on Facebook.
Yeah. So you can find them there. You can listen to Nick there. You can find me at Josh_talks. And you can hear me at NSFS Podcast. Yeah. And until next time, or for the last time.
Yeah, for the last time in this form, in the least. Yeah. Thanks again, everybody. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. All right. I'm good now.
Fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. You don't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. And until next time, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye. PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Cat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.